So how many businesses do you expect this to help and possibly save?
Thousands of businesses, because as you know, small business is doing it very tough through the coronavirus crisis, and we put in place some temporary relief for them with some changes around the insolvency laws and lifting the threshold for which there could be a statutory demand against them. But what we're doing now is putting in place a permanent change to build more flexibility into the system, to create more dynamism across the economy. We're taking key features out of the United States Chapter 11 system, and if you are a small business with less than $1 million in liabilities, instead of handing over the keys to an external administrator, we're giving you an opportunity to come up with a plan to restructure your debts, then to put it to creditors. And if creditors vote 50+1 in favour of that plan, then the business can continue to operating with the management in place, the board in place, and that's going to give businesses the best possible chance of getting to the other side of this crisis.
How do you trade your way out of insolvency, though, if there's no business there?
Well, as you know, this economic shock has been very severe, and many businesses have had to close their doors, yet the bills have still been racking up, whether it's for insurance, whether it's for energy, whether it's for water, whether it's for rent, whether it's their interest bill on their loans. But once the restrictions are eased, people are getting back to work and those business doors are opening. And those businesses are very viable businesses. They're long-term businesses, and we care about their employees and we care about their owners. So this is giving them the best chance to get back on their feet rather than having their business prematurely wound up.
So it buys them time.
It buys them time, but it does more than that, Pete. It gives them control over the process. And a business owner knows its own business best, not some external administrator where the fees rack up, the lawyers do very well, the insolvency practitioners do very well, the assets are eaten away, and then the business has to close and dreams are shattered.
You've got a speech a little bit later on today. You've got the big budget in 2 weeks from now, Treasurer. How big's the deficit going to be?
Very substantial, and obviously I'll talk today about our fiscal strategy and how we have to recalibrate that in light of the shock that we've faced. It's important for your viewers to understand that we have seen nothing like this before. It's been both on the supply side and on the demand side. It's a multiple of what we saw during the GFC, and the rise in unemployment as well as the fall in GDP has been a lot steeper and sharper than what we've seen in previous recessions here in Australia, notably in the 1980s and 90s. Now, the Morrison government has responded with record amounts of support, particularly JobKeeper, JobSeeker, the $750 cash payments, the cash flow boost to help small business with working capital. But we'll be moving to that next stage, and we're already seeing the jobs coming back with the unemployment rate falling from 7.5 down to 6.8% last month. These are positive signs, these are encouraging signs, but the budget will be the next stage in our job maker plan. And today's announcement is a supply side reform. It doesn't cost the budget money, but it certainly helps keep businesses in business and people in jobs.
OK, Paul Keating has been revved up, Treasurer. He's accused the high priests of the RBA of indolence. They should be doing more to shoulder the load. What are your thoughts on his comments?
This is an extraordinary, unnecessary attack from Paul Keating. We value the independence of the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank and its independence has come a long way since Paul Keating famously said he had them in the back pocket, and they did what he said. The reality is the government is in charge of fiscal policy and the Reserve Bank is in charge of monetary policy. Now, unlike previous economic crises like the GFC, interest rates were already low going into this crisis. So during the GFC, interest rates were cut by 425 basis points, which was the equivalent of about $100 billion stimulus into the economy over a 12-month period. In contrast, in this crisis, there has been a rate cut of only 50 basis points. But what the bank has done very successfully has provided liquidity to the banking system, with already some $75 billion being provided into the banking system, helping to stabilise it. It has also been buying bonds in the secondary market targeting a yield on its 3-year bonds at around 25 basis points, and it's been very successful in doing that with a purchase of some $60 billion of bonds already. So I think the bank has done an excellent job. We've worked very closely and cooperatively with them, and I think providing that level of cooperation is a level of assurance to the Australian community, to the business community, and it's been one of the reasons why this economy and this country has done so much better than the rest of the world through this health and economic crisis.
My colleague Andrew Clennell, meanwhile Treasurer, he's filed an exclusive report after FOI letters. He has been able to gain access to them, showing the Prime Minister sent several letters to the Victorian Premier suggesting there is ADF help available. Some 1,000 ADF soldiers were available. Is it now beyond doubt that the Victorian Premier is lying when he says that no help was offered?
Well, this is further proof, written proof, of what we have known all along, which is that the federal government has provided the offer of ADF support to the Victorian government. Instead, the Victorian government chose private security guards, and from there the tragedy unfolded. And it's been devastating to see what has happened in Victoria, with people subject to stage 4 restrictions and a curfew, and with many of their liberties effectively being taken away. So this is these letters are confirmation of what we have already known, which is that the federal government has repeatedly offered ADF support to the Andrews government, an offer which should have been accepted but was rejected, and in its place was private security guards, and from there the tragedy unfolded.